Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus Impact Wrestling. This is from May 6th, 2021. As far as the in-ring goes, there were a couple matches that were pretty good. I gotta say, for as hot as they've been running lately, the show was definitely more about building things up for their next pay-per-view than it was about being a good show in and of itself. I'll just be honest. It was a lot of qualifying matches. The remaining 3 qualifying spots for the 6-way dance that's going to determine who is going to get the title shot at Kenny Omega at their bigger pay-per-view. So that took up the majority of the thing. We did have an appearance by Kenny Omega doing some stuff. Let's just jump into it. It's a pretty simplistic kind of show. The first match, Sabin against Rhino. Long and short of it, the referee controlled Violent by design, but at the end of the day, Sabin rolls up Rhino in a very underwhelming match, especially for an open. All right, so but we got, Chris Bay, Matt Cardona, Sabin. So that part's shaping up well enough. And we got Susan against Taylor Wilde in what can only be described as a foregone conclusion match, really, right? Of course, Wilde beat Susan. And there just wasn't a lot to this match. It was more about Caleb and Dashwood being there trying to charm Taylor Wilde. So it just, Impact is having this problem of they need to start off hot like they have in the last couple of weeks, and this show is just sort of workmanlike. There's no real sizzle to this show yet, and that's a problem because people tend to not tune in the middle. They tend to be there at the beginning and then decide if they want to stay. That's the watching pattern of wrestling fans for most shows, including Impact. So he had another number 1 qualifying match, Trey Miguel against Rohit Raju. Now, in-ring wise, this thing was good. They moved around a little more. They had some different and varied spots. This felt much more like an Impact match, if that makes sense. In the end, Miguel defeats Raju in a kind of a foregone conclusion, if I'm being honest. But the match is good. That commercial break really took away from this match. That's something that Impact's also going to have to deal with. When they have matches that are just more riveting, if they can avoid putting a commercial break right in the middle of them, it would be nice. We had Juice Robinson against Doc Gallows. So I guess this thing is continuing. And this is a foregone conclusion. There's just no point unless Gallows wins. And so Gallows does win in a match that, again, it just feels very like, all right, we needed this win to happen in order to advance things, right? And, this is the one where Anderson and Omega distract, and then they all beat down the tag champions and stand tall. El Phantasmo debuts, so that was an exciting thing. And he had a really good match with VSK. It was, I would say, the second best match of the night, and a great debut for Phantasmo, who, though he wrestles similarly to other wrestlers at Impact, there is something about him that does feel a cut above most of them, and I think that's exactly what you want, and that's exactly what you're hoping for. So good deal, and a really good by VSK. I thought really got himself there for Phantasmo stuff, and obviously it was all hands on deck. Let's make sure Phantasmo looks great in his debut. Mission accomplished, certainly, and to me, it like lifted the show. Rachel Ellering against Kiera Hogan. This is a foregone conclusion. That Boss Woman Slam looks great. Everything else looked okay, I guess. There just isn't really a spark. But then fortunately, we get to the main event, Moose against James Storm. This was just a flat out great match. Those guys showing why they're stars, and they really carry themselves as stars. Moose wins, and And that obviously seems like the right call. So again, a show that I would describe as distinctly underwhelming. And Impact can honestly afford to have very few of those kind of shows. This has been Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling.